Marisa Ellington squinted at the page in front of her, perplexed and a little angry. She had a deadline at noon, and every second mattered, but something was wrong with the draft. Again, she was not the type to forget a phrase she herself had coined. For the past 7 years, she'd been the primary speechwriter for Senator Roland Arkwright House. Star-turned-national sensation, frontrunner for his party's nomination, and, if the polls could be trusted, the next president of the United States. Marisa's words drifted out of his mouth almost daily now, at rallies, on morning talk shows, in the tiny snatches the networks replayed between pharmaceutical ads. She knew the tone, the rhythm, the beats of every joke and pivot. She kept color-coded outlines of every theme on her laptop like a maestro's score. So how had a sentence as peculiar as this ended up on page 4 of next week's State Economic Forum address? Citizens will instinctively select prosperity over scrutiny. Remember, security is a contract you sign each time you wake. Marisa mouthed the line aloud. The syntax sounded like hers, but the message most certainly was not. Citizens will instinctively select prosperity over scrutiny. What did that even mean? And remember, security is a contract you sign each time you wake. It sounded like a threat disguised as wisdom. She tapped delete, breathed out, and resumed typing her planned segue about affordable broadband. 10 minutes later, she scrolled back up to check flow. The bizarre sentence was back, sandwiched neatly between bullet points she swore she had just tightened. She felt a prickle along her scalp. "Okay, that's cute," she muttered, saving the document, quitting and reopening it. Gone. She scrolled twice, satisfied, then reached for her mug. When she glanced at the screen again, a new line hovered in a different paragraph. Decline the urge to question the design. Embrace the design and the urge will plasticize. Plasticize? Nobody used that verb. Certainly not the plain language maven who had won 3 Clarity in Government awards. She turned off track changes, certain some junior staffer was messing with her. She checked version history. Every revision carried her own login, no record of external edits. A knock on her open door startled her. Amos Barkley, tech liaison and keeper of the Senate IT gods, leaned in. "Everything good? I got your ping." "Why, I didn't ping you." He held up his phone. A message from Marisa's account, time-stamped 20 minutes earlier. "We need a permissions audit on my workstation. Top priority." Her stomach went cold. "I didn't send that. But maybe we do need one." Amos wheeled over, questionable coffee in hand. "Keylogger?" "Something worse. My drafts keep acquiring sentences I never wrote. Like they're..." She heard how it sounded and rubbed her forehead. "Look, can you run a malware sweep?" "Already on it." He plugged in a silver USB, eyes darting across her triple monitor array. "Any external collaborators?" "Just me. I haven't even emailed this file yet." While he typed, Marisa returned to the document. She scrolled line by line, reading aloud. When she hit page 5, she saw another insertion, bolded for emphasis. "Recognize the guidance coded in comfort. Let the cadence carry you to consensus." "What the hell?" she whispered. Amos looked up. "That new? 2 seconds ago." He pressed keys, scanning logs. No outbound signals, no remote desktop, no macro triggers. If it's getting in, it's via something local. His brow furrowed. "Do you use voice dictation?" "Sometimes, but not today." Marisa stared at the microphone icon on her toolbar, curling off. "Why? If you did, theoretically a hot mic could be exploited. But it would still need words to echo. You'd hear them first." She folded her arms. "Could someone hide a bot in the predictive text engine?" "Sure. But the doc is offline, and you'd still see a process. Nothing." Marisa exhaled shakily. "Okay, can you send me the sweep report? Senator's on at 3, I have to finish." "I'll lock your station down. Hold tight." He left, closing her door. The room felt suddenly smaller. She printed the speech safer on paper, she thought, and moved to a side table with a red pen. No gremlin could sabotage ink. Halfway through, she froze. The printed page contained the phantom sentence about plasticizing the urge, though she was certain she'd deleted it before hitting print. She grabbed her laptop. The same line had reappeared on screen, italicized now as if insisting on itself. She highlighted it angrily. A tooltip popped up. Keep. The only option was keep. There was no delete. A chill traveled her spine. She selected other text. Normal tooltips. The usual formatting choices. Only the eerie inserts lacked a delete option. Subliminal commands. The phrase drifted through her mind unbidden. That was impossible, wasn't it? She thought of Arkwright's recent stump speeches. Last month, he'd surprised everyone by calling for an expedited national ID rollout, something Marissa had explicitly advised him to avoid until after the primary. She had combed her drafts and found no such language, yet he'd credited her privately for the persuasive phrasing. Prosperity thrives on recognition. Identity is recognition formalized. The wording matched the vibe of these intrusions. Had those lines slipped into his teleprompter the same way? Did the electorate hear them and obey? She pulled up polling data. After the ID speech, support for a biometric card had jumped 23 points. Think tanks declared it the public's idea, not the senator's. Marissa's pulse hammered. She strode to her office door, hoping Amos was still nearby, but the corridor outside buzzed with staff prepping for afternoon votes. No sign of him. In the copy room, she scanned the latest staff bulletin for the forum. A highlight noted Arkwright would outline his vision for an adaptive security compact. She had never drafted such a phrase. She shoved the bulletin into her bag and hurried down 2 flights to the basement server suite. Amos's domain was a forest of humming racks. He looked up from a monitor, startled. "Whoa, security clearance, Mizzy. I'm on deadline." She shut the door behind her. "Find anything?" "Nothing malicious, but your machine logs show an unusual compiler tool present since January. Something called narrowcast." He rotated the screen. "I can't locate vendor info. Could be custom." Marissa stared at the icon, a stylized ear inside a speech bubble. "Remove it." "It's integrated at kernel level. Yanking it blind could brick your OS." "Back it up, quarantine it, whatever. I want it gone." Amos hesitated. "I already tried isolating. It self-reinstalls from firmware. Whoever placed it had physical access and serious chops." "Physical access? Someone in the Senate? Or hardware shipped that way? New laptops came from procurement last winter, right?" She nodded slowly. January, same month. Arkwright's rhetoric began shifting. "Look," Amos said softly, "I flagged this to Sergeant Adams. They can escalate." "No." She grabbed his wrist, surprising them both. "Until we're sure, you can't tell anyone. Not Arkwright, not leadership, nobody." Marissa seating policy. "If we tip off the wrong person, it'll adapt." He studied her, then sighed. "One condition. We make an offline duplicate of every speech you've written since the new gear arrived. Compare them to whatever was actually delivered." Marissa swallowed. "Deal." They set to work. While Amos extracted hard drive images, Marissa logged onto the Senate video archive, queuing each recorded speech beside her original drafts. The differences were subtle, lines inserted in real time, so seamless no one seemed to notice. Arkwright would blink or clear his throat, teleprompter font would refresh, and he'd read on with fresh text he'd never rehearsed. The pattern chilled her. Each rogue phrase nudged public sentiment toward concentration of executive power, normalization of surveillance, or erosion of watchdog funding. Nothing overtly authoritarian, just tiny recalibrations of consensus. Around midnight, they finished compiling discrepancies. Marissa's head throbbed. She and Amos sat in stunned silence. Finally, he said, "Someone's weaponizing your voice, and the senator's popularity is the amplifier." "Not just my voice," she murmured, recalling other lawmakers who had echoed similar odd turns of phrase on Sunday shows. "Maybe anyone who uses Senate-issued hardware." Amos rubbed his eyes. "This is bigger than it. We need intel services." "Or journalism," she countered. "Expose it before it's scrubbed. And risk mass panic? What if the bad actors inside the agencies who'd handle it?" He leaned back. "Let's map vectors first. Where else does narrowcast live?" They pulled purchase orders, discovering the same laptop model had rolled out to multiple federal offices, budget committees, judiciary, even press liaison pools. Innocuous procurement, no red flags. Wholesalers in Reston, Amos noted. I could borrow a pool car, do some recon. Marissa shook her head. Too slow. Forums in 2 days. If Arkwright reads that draft, the country could greenlight something irreversible. She inhaled, decision crystallizing. We need to confront him, tonight. Tell him his own speeches are hacking him. Show him he trusts me. Amos packed a portable drive. I'm coming. If he blows you off, we still have chain of custody proof. They left the Capitol through an auxiliary exit to avoid security cameras pinging facial rec. Marissa marveled darkly at how conspiratorial she'd become in 12 hours. Arkwright's townhouse stood on a cobbled street 4 blocks from the Library of Congress. Lights glowed in an upper room, one of his perpetual all-nighters. Marissa buzzed. His chief aide, Tia Mendoza, answered via intercom. Marissa, it's after midnight. Urgent brief for the forum. Senators requested revisions. She used the code phrase they'd established for critical updates. It would get her through any firewall. Moments later, Tia opened the door. Her eyes flicked to Amos. He's with me, Marissa said. IT clearance. They ascended to the study. Arkwright in shirt sleeves stood amid stacks of dossiers. He smiled wearily. You two look like you found the smoking gun on inflation. Senator, we need privacy, Marissa said. Tia exited, closing the door. Arkwright gestured to chairs. Shoot. Marissa connected her laptop to the wall display. I want to replay a clip from your speech on labor automation last month. Video filled the screen. Arkwright watched himself speak. At timestamp 7:14, she paused. Do you recall authorizing this specific phrase? She advanced a frame. His recorded self said, Harmony emerges when oversight surrenders to efficiency. Arkwright frowned. I remember the line differently. I said, oversight and efficiency must harmonize. Exactly. Marissa cut in. Your notes, my draft, and the teleprompter load all show that version, but during delivery, the text changed in real time. You read it without hesitating. He crossed his arms. Teleprompter glitch. Amos stepped forward. Not a glitch. We found custom firmware on Senate devices inserting what are essentially subliminal directives into prepared remarks. Arkwright's expression hardened, but Marissa saw alarm flicker. Directives from whom? We don't know, Marissa said, but the language always pushes for reduced oversight, increased security mandates, or expedited executive action. Polls move accordingly. Arkwright rubbed his chin, staring at the still frame of his own face. You're saying I've been hijacked? Your speeches have, Amos clarified. Not just yours, potentially hundreds across government. Marissa changed slides. Here's tomorrow's forum draft. She zoomed into the paragraph about infrastructure. Hidden at font size 4 between words was microtext. Accelerate state of emergency if adoption lags. The screen magnified the letters. Arkwright's breath hissed. I never authorized an emergency clause. It wasn't in the draft at 10 a.m., Marissa said. It is now. He paced, hand in hair. We go public, we tank markets, undermine faith in institutions 10 months before an election. We do nothing, Amos countered. And an unseen actor steers policy through your mouth. That's already a coup. Arkwright stopped moving. Does leadership know? Not yet, Marissa said. We came to you first. He looked at her. Really looked. And you, Marissa? You've carried these words for months. Feeling responsible? She felt tears she had no time for. Yes, he exhaled slowly. All right, contingency Poller. Marissa blinked. Poller was an internal code for communications lockdown. Unplug everything. Revert to handwritten memos. Courier only. She'd ghost drafted the memo, but never imagined invoking it domestically. Arkwright typed a code into his tablet, initiating the protocol. Instantly, his network cut off. Screens dimmed. Office phone lines died. Emergency battery lamps flickered on. "Analog from here," he said. "Amos, print every compromised speech. You and Marissa annotate discrepancies. T will courier binders to the Senate Intelligence Chair by dawn. He still keeps a fax line in his district office. Meanwhile, I'll brief the minority leader in person." "Senator," Amos said carefully, "if hardware is seeded, even printers could embed payloads." Arkwright considered, then nodded. "Typewriter, then?" He opened a closet. Inside sat an IBM Selectric he liked to show reporters as nostalgia. Tonight, it became a lifeline. While Arkwright pounded keys with surprising speed, Marissa and Amos combed drafts, circling suspect lines in red pencil. 3 hours passed, the clatter of the Selectric underscoring their grim task. At 4:18 a.m., the townhouse lights flared back to reserve grid. A knock shook the front door. Tia's voice carried upstairs. "Senator, Capitol Police!" Arkwright's eyes met Marissa's. They shouldn't know about Poplar yet. He slipped the fresh statement from the typewriter into an envelope, handed it to Marissa. "Plan B. Get this to Chair Havelock yourself. Use the Metro Public's safest." Marissa stuffed the envelope inside her coat. "What about you?" "I'll stall them." Amos grabbed a burner flip phone from Arkwright's emergency kit, gave it to her. "Call only the number on speed dial. Me." Marissa nodded, then headed for the rear stairwell. She reached the alley exit just as 2 squad cars idled out front. She slipped into shadow, heart wild. Halfway down the block, her phone buzzed. Amos. She ducked behind a trash skip. "I'm clear." "They're taking him for questioning regarding network tampering. I think someone detected Poplar activation." Marissa bit her lip. "Meet me at Union Station." She jogged toward Pennsylvania Avenue, the city eerily calm in pre-dawn violet. Every traffic light felt like an eye. At Union Station, she purchased a cheap suitcase, tore its lining, and hid the envelope. Amtrak to Baltimore left in 18 minutes. From there, a commuter line could reach Chair Havelock's district before staff opened emails. Amos arrived breathless. Police raided the senator's servers. Tia says they confiscated drives claimed a cyber terror tip. Means we're on the right trail. She hesitated. "You coming?" "Someone has to monitor DC chatter." He handed her a thumb drive. "Independent researchers I trust. I pushed them the narrowcast sample. If I go dark, publish everything." She hugged him hard. Then she boarded. The train rhythmic clatter gave her time to think. She opened her laptop, carefully offline, to reread the speech that started all this. She felt the tug to revise, to perfect phrasing, habit ingrained, but the page looked different now. Battlefield evidence. A notification tried to flash. Bluetooth attempting to enable. She disabled the adapter, absent-mindedly humming. The laptop fan whirred. On the screen, pixels shifted. A cursor moved without her touch, descending the document like a spider. It typed, "There is no outside." She slammed the lid, pulse thundering around her. Sleepy commuters stared. She swallowed. The enemy rode inside silicon airwaves, but she still carried the most powerful defense left. Physical words on dead tree. Ink hammered by an antique typeball. Truth that refused to be overridden. Chairman Havelock's office lay 63 miles ahead. The sun would rise in 20 minutes. Marissa pressed her forehead to the cold window glass, letting the speeding landscape steady her. A new speech formed in her mind, one spoken aloud. No teleprompter, no electronics, only the raw human voice. "We begin again," she whispered as the horizon paled, and the train kept moving.